This is episode 86. Welcome to Wellness in Every Season, the podcast where we explore the rich tapestry of wellness in all its forms. I'm your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach turned wellness coach, as well as a certified parenting coach, dedicated to empowering others to rediscover their identity in their current season of life. My goal is to help you thrive as an individual and as a parent. Welcome everyone to episode 86 of Wellness in Every Season. Today's episode is titled The 4 Agreements in Action, Wellness Tools for Growth. I'm really excited about today's episode because it stems from my personal recommendation that sparked a deeper journey for me. A little while ago, I had the pleasure of interviewing Jessica Dahlquist. Some of you might remember the episode, and during our conversation, she recommended a book that I hadn't yet read, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. If you're curious, you can go back and listen to that episode. It's number 34. To hear how she spoke about it with such passion and clarity. After that interview, I knew I had to dive into the book myself. And when I did, I realized how much these simple yet profound agreements could reshape the way I approach wellness, relationships, and my inner world. I found myself wanting to go deeper, not just for my own growth, but to make these principles more applicable to others, whether you're looking to improve your well-being, deepen your relationships, or simply find more balance in life. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through these 4 agreements and share how I've begun applying them in my life. But more importantly, I'll talk about how you too can use these teachings to foster wellness in every aspect of your life, from your mental and emotional health to how you connect with others. If you're ready to explore the connection between these timeless teachings and your own well-being, let's dive in. I'm going to give you a quick overview to start. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. This agreement is about speaking truthfully and with integrity, not only to others, but to yourself. The words you choose, whether in your thoughts or aloud, shape your mindset and emotional well-being. By speaking kindly and mindfully, you nurture a positive internal environment, creating space for growth and self-compassion. Agreement number 2, don't take anything personally. People's actions and words are often reflections of their own experiences, not a judgment of you. By not internalizing others' behavior, you protect your emotional well-being. This agreement frees you from the burden of carrying other people's opinions and helps you maintain peace of mind in your relationships. Agreement number 3 is don't make assumptions. When you make assumptions, it often leads to misunderstandings and unnecessary stress. This agreement encourages you to ask questions, communicate clearly, and approach situations with curiosity rather than filling in the gaps with fear or insecurity. By seeking clarity, you reduce anxiety and foster healthier connections. Agreement number 4, this is the last agreement and then we'll start diving in, is always do your best. Your best will look different depending on your energy and circumstances, and that's okay. This agreement focuses on effort, not perfection. By giving your best, whether that may be in any given moment, you practice self-compassion and release the need for self-criticism, allowing space for growth and well-being. Let's start with the first agreement as we dive in. Be impeccable with your word. At first glance, it sounds simple. Speak the truth, keep your promises, be kind. But there's so much more to this agreement, and it's something we often overlook in our day-to-day lives. This agreement calls for us to use our words carefully, not only with others, but perhaps more importantly with ourselves. Think about it. How often do we speak to ourselves in ways we never speak to a friend or loved one? We're often our own harshest critics. We might say things like, I'm not good enough, I always mess up, or I'll never get this right. These words hold power. They create our reality. When our internal dialogue is filled with criticism or negativity, we're chipping away at our emotional wellness. The word impeccable means without sin. In this context, it suggests that we use our words in a way that doesn't harm ourselves or others. Every time we use words to judge or tear ourselves down, it's like a small cut, each one adding up over time, diminishing our sense of self-worth and wellness. By becoming more mindful of our words, we create space where growth, healing, and self-compassion can flourish. And it's not just about our internal dialogue. Think about how your words affect others. How many times have you regretted saying something in the heat of the moment, or as soon as it comes out of your mouth? Words spoken can't be taken back. They have the power to lift others up or tear them down. That's why being impeccable with your word is about speaking from a place of love, kindness, and truth. But why is this important for wellness? When you choose to speak kindly to yourself and others, you're fostering emotional peace. You're creating an environment both internal and external, where people feel safe, supported, and valued. And that safety is critical for emotional and mental wellness. When we're constantly on edge, worried about judgment or negativity, whether it's coming from ourselves or others, it creates stress, anxiety, and even feelings of shame. Another important aspect of being impeccable with your word is how we honor the promises we make to ourselves. This is where personal integrity becomes key. How often do we set goals or intentions, like promising to take better care of ourselves, only to let those commitments fall by the wayside because we're overwhelmed or busy? We tell ourselves we'll get to it later, but each time we break those promises, it chips away at our self-trust. When we repeatedly fail to follow through on the commitments we make to ourselves, we begin to doubt our own ability to keep our word. This erosion of self-trust can have a profound impact on our well-being, creating a cycle of guilt, frustration, and self-doubt. Over time, we lose confidence in our ability to make positive changes, which makes it harder to pursue our goals or take care of ourselves in meaningful ways. To break this cycle, we need to start by being more mindful of the promises we make to ourselves and follow through, even in small ways. For instance, if you prioritize your health by going for a daily walk, keep that commitment. For me, where I'm catching myself is on sleep. I need to keep my commitment of when I'm going to bed. When you honor your own word, you rebuild that self-trust. And as that trust grows, so does your sense of self-worth and integrity. One of the first steps in being impeccable with your word is becoming aware of your internal dialogue. Are you speaking kindly to yourself? Or do you find yourself being your own worst critic? This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of. Once you start noticing negative self-talk, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this really true? Often we find that our self-criticism is exaggerated or rooted in fear. From there, we begin to replace those critical thoughts with affirmations. It may feel strange at first, but over time you'll notice a shift in your mindset. For example, instead of saying, I always fail, try replacing that with, I'm learning and growing, and I'm proud of my progress. These small changes in language can create powerful shifts in how we see ourselves. This practice extends beyond our relationship with ourselves. It's also about how we speak to others. Before reacting in difficult situations, take a breath and ask yourself, is what I'm about to say true, kind, or necessary? The simple pause helps us avoid speaking from a place of anger or frustration, allowing us to communicate with more intention and compassion. There's also a spiritual element to being impeccable with your word. Words carry energy. When we speak with integrity and kindness, we send out positive energy that affects those around us. Our words not only shape our own reality, but they also influence the realities of others. When we speak truth and love, we elevate the people around us and, in turn, nurture our spiritual wellness. For me, practicing this agreement has made a profound impact on my well-being. I used to be incredibly hard on myself, and if I'm being honest, I still am, but I'm getting better. Pushing to do more and be better, often speaking to myself in ways I would never speak to anyone else. But as I began practicing being impeccable with my word and keeping the promises I made to myself, I noticed a shift, and it's something that is profound enough that I'm going to keep doing. That's not only is the shift been in my emotional health, but it's in my relationships and how I approach life. It's an ongoing journey, but it has brought more peace, balance, and authenticity into my life. To wrap up this agreement, I encourage you to reflect on your own words and promises. Are you creating an environment of kindness, support, and wellness with your words? Are you keeping the promises you make to yourself? Or are you letting them slip away, eroding your self-trust? Being impeccable with your word is a lifelong practice, but every step you take brings you closer to living with integrity, peace, and connection. By following this practice, speaking truthfully and kindly, honoring the promises you make to yourself and others, and setting compassionate boundaries, you can foster not only emotional wellness, but a deep sense of self-trust and integrity. This is where true wellness begins, in the power of your words, spoken and unspoken. Let's take this time to slow down, breathe, and give ourselves the gift of mindfulness. Whether you're listening while sitting at home or on the go, I invite you to fully arrive at this moment with me. If it's possible, gently close your eyes. If you're moving about, see if you can soften your gaze, relax your body, and tune into the rhythm of your breath. and if possible, breathe deeper. First, begin by simply noticing your breath as it is. No need to change it, just observe. Notice how the air flows in through your nose, filling your lungs, and then gently releases out. Even talking about it gives my body a sigh. Take a few moments to follow the natural rise and fall of your breath. With each inhale, feel a sense of calm washing over you. And with each exhale, let go of any tension, any worries, and anything that might be distracting you from this present moment. Now, let's move into a grounding practice by connecting with the body. Start by feeling the weight of your body where you're sitting or standing. Notice how the ground beneath you supports you fully without asking for anything in return. Let yourself be held by that support. Bring your attention to your feet. Feel them connecting with the earth, solid and grounded. Imagine roots growing from the soles of your feet, extending down into the ground, anchoring you in this present moment. With each breath, feel yourself becoming more steady, more present. Now move your awareness up your legs. Gently soften any tension you might find in your calves, knees, and thighs. Relax your hips, noticing if you're holding any tightness there. Allow your spine to lengthen, creating a feeling of openness and lightness as you continue to breathe deeply. Next, bring your awareness to your shoulders. Let them drop, releasing any stress or weight you may be carrying. Feel the relaxation flow through your arms to your hands and fingers. Let go of anything you're holding, both physically and mentally. Let your hands rest softly wherever they are. Finally, relax your face. Soften your jaw, let go of any tension in your forehead, and allow your eyes to relax. Feel the entire body softening, your body grounded and present. With your body grounded and your breath steady, now invite curiosity and non-judgment into the space to open your awareness to the last couple of months of your life. Let your mind gently wander through that time, observing moments where you may have applied the 4 agreements naturally and effortlessly. Were there times when you spoke kindly to yourself or others? Times when you didn't take something personally or choose to seek clarity instead of making assumptions. Hold those moments with gratitude and recognize how they supported your wellness. Allow yourself to breathe deeply into those experiences, feeling a sense of peace and accomplishment. Notice how embodying these agreements brought a sense of ease, connection, or emotional wellness into your life. Stay with this feeling for a few breaths, allowing it to expand. Now, with the same gentle curiosity, I invite you to reflect on moments where you may have struggled to live by these agreements. Without judgment, think about the times when you were hard on yourself, when you spoke harshly or critically, or when you took someone's words or actions personally. Maybe there were moments where you made assumptions that led to misunderstanding or frustration. Breathe into those moments, acknowledging them with compassion. This isn't about criticism, it's about awareness and growth. As you bring these experiences into your awareness, remind yourself that these are opportunities for learning, not failure. Each of these moments gives you the chance to grow and move forward with more intention. Take a deep breath, and as you exhale, release any lingering judgment or frustration you may be holding toward yourself. Let go of any need to be perfect. Now, let's ground ourselves even more deeply in this practice. Take another deep breath in, feeling the air fill your lungs, and then exhale slowly. Bring your awareness back to your feet, back to your connection with the earth. Feel that sense of being fully supported, both physically and emotionally. As you sit in this grounded space, allow the weight of your past experiences to fall away and recognize that each breath is an opportunity to begin again. With each inhale, invite in clarity and kindness. With each exhale, let go of judgment, stress, or anything that no longer serves you. You are here in this moment, and that is enough. Allow yourself to be at peace with where you are right now, knowing that you are growing, learning, and evolving with every breath. Now, as you continue to breathe deeply and remain grounded, I want to invite you to ask yourself some gentle questions. How can I become more aware of my words and thoughts, both towards myself and others? What is one small step I can take to speak more kindly or be more intentional with my words? How can I practice not taking things personally in my relationships or interactions with others? Where can I challenge my assumptions and seek clarity instead? How can I allow space for grace and self-compassion when I don't get it right the first time? Let these questions float in your mind, not needing immediate answers, but creating space for reflection and awareness. This is your time to explore, to feel into what resonates with you. Trust that your inner wisdom will guide you in your own time, and that the journey toward living these agreements is a practice, not a destination. As we bring this mindfulness practice to a close, take one last deep, grounding breath. Feel the air expand your lungs and slowly release. Know that this space of reflection and grounding is always here for you, whenever you need to return, whenever you want to reconnect with yourself. Gently open your eyes or refocus your gaze, bringing your awareness back to the room or the space around you. Take a moment to appreciate that you've cultivated and carry that with you as we continue on with the rest of our journey. The second agreement, don't take anything personally, is one of the most liberating principles you can incorporate into your life. And this is the reason why I'm sharing this book with so many people, this part right here. It challenges the way we interpret the actions and words of others, reminding us that most of what people say and do is a reflection of their own internal world, not ours. This agreement is about freeing ourselves from the emotional weight of others' judgments, criticisms, and negativity, which often have nothing to do with us. At first, this sounds straightforward, but in practice, it's much harder to detach from the instinct to internalize others' behavior. To be honest, sometimes I do really great and sometimes I don't, and I have to remind myself of this book and this whole way of thinking because as small as the book is, this stuff is deep. When we take things personally, we allow other people's opinions, moods, and actions to dictate our emotional well-being. Whether it's a critical remark from a friend, a disagreement with a colleague, or even a hurtful comment from a family member, our tendency is to absorb their negativity as a reflection of our worth. Of course, I'm talking to adults, but this episode right here would be great for kids. Think middle school, high school. Remember how awful that was? I plan on giving my 9.5-year-old this book right before he goes into middle school because I remember how awful it was, and especially the making assumptions of how other people feel, will react, everything was such a waste of energy. Think about this for children even. Let me continue on. But don't take anything personally encourages us to release the grip of these reactions. By understanding that other people's words and actions are usually about their perceptions, fears, or insecurities, we gain emotional freedom. Instead of carrying the weight of their emotional baggage, we can focus on maintaining our own peace and emotional well-being. And here's some steps to it. The first one is understanding the source of others' behavior. One of the most powerful ways to stop taking things personally is to recognize that others are acting from their own perspective and circumstances, which may have nothing to do with you. People's reactions are shaped by their experiences, their current emotional state, and often their unresolved issues. By remembering this, we can stop interpreting their actions as reflections of our own value or worth. And let's take this back a little bit before I give you my practical example. There's going to be a lot of practical examples in here. I'm very excited for that. But let's take a step back. How many times have you snapped at someone that you didn't mean to? It was really meant for somebody else. Think about times like that. And when you take that time to reflect on times when you've done that, it might help you moving forward when other people react to you that way to realize that's their own stuff, not mine. So let's go to this example. Imagine a colleague or friend snaps at you unexpectedly. Here you go. Your first instinct might be to wonder, what did I do wrong? Or why are they mad at me? But before internalizing their reaction, consider the possibility that their behavior may have nothing to do with you. Perhaps they are dealing with personal stress, work frustrations, or other internal struggles. Just this week, my oldest, he's gonna love these. He goes back when he's older and listens, if he ever does. But he woke up with a sore throat and he took it out on everybody else. Thankfully, he wasn't sick. It was just allergies. But oh my goodness, he triggered his siblings. And I had to deal with the aftermath. And I kept trying to help walk him through it and help him through it. It's hard. Parenting is hard. In case you guys didn't know, it's hard. But their mood is more about them than it is about you. By stepping back and observing this, you protect yourself from carrying unnecessary emotional baggage. Thankfully, he's old enough that he's able to realize that when I point that out when other people are a little too snappy at him. Now it's teaching him the other way. Don't be snapping at other people when they don't deserve it. So here's the second one, protecting your emotional wellness. Taking things personally drains our emotional energy and can create anxiety, resentment, or even a feeling of being constantly on edge. I see you guys nodding over there. When we allow ourselves to be by others' words or behaviors, we end up depleting our emotional reserves, making it harder to stay centered and calm. A powerful way to protect your emotional wellness is by developing emotional boundaries. Whenever you feel triggered by someone else's words or actions, take a moment to ask yourself, is this really about me, or is this person reacting to something in their own life? Creating that mental space between their actions and your emotions helps you maintain your peace. Here's a practical example. Imagine receiving criticism from a supervisor at work. It's easy to let that feedback shape your self-worth, but by not taking it personally, you can see it as feedback on your work rather than an attack on who you are. I'll make this personal in my life. We'll go into cooking. My husband and I enjoy cooking. Right now, I'm really enjoying him cooking more often while I get other things done in the house. Fair play. If you guys need that episode, it's amazing. So we really divided out who's doing what. But with cooking meals, we would tiptoe around whether we liked that meal or not. Now we're straight up. I feel like this meal would be better this way, or I don't like this one, let's not cook this one again. And it was really helpful that we started doing this before our kids were old enough to talk and say it, because we know how blunt children can be. But it was really helpful to be able to do that. And both of us were both pleasers, both empaths, not take it personally, and to focus using that, we were able to have that kind of springboard for other areas of our life where we can do the same thing, where we're looking at this as not an attack on the other person. This is how we can make this better. And I'm all about let's make things better in our lives. This perspective allows you to take constructive feedback without letting it erode your confidence or emotional stability. Here's the third one. Focusing on your own intentions. Focusing on your own intentions. One of the key principles of don't take anything personally is learning to ground yourself in your own actions and intentions. When you know that you are acting with integrity, kindness, and good intentions, then how others respond becomes less important. You can control your own behavior, but you can't control how others interpret it or react to it. And we spend so much energy on that part, trying to control how others interpret and react to things. What if we don't? When you are rooted in your own values, you can release the need for external validation or approval. Shifts allows you to feel secure in your actions without relying on the responses of others to determine your worth. Here's an example. You might be supporting a friend during a tough time, only to be met with frustration or distance. It's easy to take their reaction personally, but when you remember that your intention was to help, and that their response may be shaped by their own struggles, it frees you from internalizing their emotions. Focusing on your own intention rather than their reaction helps maintain emotional balance and prevents unnecessary hurt. I think it also gives some boundaries. 4. Developing compassion for others. Personally is the cultivation of compassion. When we recognize that people's behavior is often a reflection of their internal struggles, we can meet them with empathy rather than internalizing their actions. Compassion allows us to see others through a lens of understanding, knowing that their words and actions are often shaped by what's happening inside of them, not by us. This doesn't mean excusing hurtful behavior, but it does mean detaching from it emotionally. When you can understand that others are doing the best they can with what they are going through, it becomes easier to avoid taking their behavior as a personal attack. Practical example. A family member might make a critical comment that stings. Instead of reacting with hurt or anger, you can pause and ask, what might they be going through right now? Understanding that their comment is likely more about their own stress or emotions helps you detach from the hurt and respond from a place of calm rather than internalizing their negativity. Can you think of times when you have done that and it just opened up that other person and they became vulnerable and you were able to be vulnerable and you felt more connected? And then think about times when instead you've exploded and it just became so much worse than it needed to be. Number 5, practicing mindfulness in emotional moments. Mindfulness is one of the most practical tools for applying don't take anything personally. That's why I love having mindfulness moments in my podcast. When we feel emotionally triggered, our first instinct is often to react quickly, internalizing the words or actions of others. But with mindfulness, we can create a space between the trigger and our reaction. In that space, we have the power to choose our response. By observing our emotions without immediately reacting, we can avoid the spiral of taking things personally. Mindfulness helps us recognize that others' reactions are separate from our own emotions, allowing us to respond thoughtfully and calmly. Practical example. Let's say your child refuses to listen or throws a tantrum. Instead of internalizing their behavior as a reflection of your parenting, you can pause, take a deep breath, and recognize that the reaction may be a reflection of their own frustration or developmental stage. By using mindfulness, you can maintain your own emotional balance, respond with compassion, and avoid spiraling into self-doubt. Closing thoughts on not taking things personally. Learning not to take things personally is an ongoing practice. But every time you pause, detach, and protect your emotional energy, you're making strides toward emotional freedom. By grounding yourself in your own intentions, developing compassion for others, and practicing mindfulness, you create more peace in your interactions. You'll begin to feel lighter, less burdened by the reaction of others, and more in control of your own well-being. The freedom that comes from this agreement can transform your relationships, your work, and your emotional wellness. So next time you feel triggered by someone's words or actions, remember, it's not about you. It's about them. And by choosing not to take it personally, you protect your peace and create space for compassion and understanding. The fourth agreement, always do your best, reminds us that our best is not a fixed standard. It changes from moment to moment, depending on our energy levels, emotional state, and circumstances. This agreement is about releasing the pressure of perfection and instead focusing on effort. When we do our best, whatever that looks like today, we can move forward without regret, guilt, or self-criticism. This agreement is incredibly freeing because it allows space for both progress and grace. It's a reminder that sometimes your best will look like showing up full of energy and knocking things out of the park. Other times your best might be simply getting out of bed and doing the minimum you can. Both are valid. Both are your best in different contexts. The first step to this is recognizing that your best isn't the same every day. Life is dynamic. Some days you're feeling energized and ready to take on the world, and other days you're tired or emotionally drained. On those harder days, your best might look different, and that's okay. Honoring where you are rather than pushing yourself to meet an unrealistic standard is essential for your overall wellness. Practical parenting example. Let's say you've had a long day and your kids are asking for your attention. You might feel like your best as a parent should be engaging with them fully, playing a game, or taking them to the park. But if you're exhausted, your best might be sitting with them and listening or reading a book together. It's about showing up with what you can offer in that moment without feeling guilty that it's not more. Second step, releasing perfectionism and self-judgment. A huge part of always doing your best is letting go of perfectionism. We often get caught up in the idea that our best means being flawless or meeting every goal perfectly. But perfectionism is a trap that leaves us feeling like we're never enough. By focusing on effort rather than outcome, we can release that pressure and embrace the idea that progress matters more than perfection. Practical example. Maybe you've set a goal to exercise regularly, but today you're feeling tired or unmotivated. Instead of beating yourself up for not doing a full workout, ask yourself, what's my best today? Perhaps it's going for a 10-minute walk instead of a full workout. By doing your best in the context of today's energy, you're still honoring your goal without falling into the trap or all or nothing thinking. This is really helpful for me. Third step, avoiding comparison. Another key element of this agreement is avoiding comparison. Your best is your best, not somebody else's. It's easy to look at others and feel like we're falling short, whether it's in parenting, work, or personal growth. But comparison only leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. When you stop comparing yourself to others and focus on what's possible for you in this moment, you create space for self-compassion and realistic expectations. Practical parenting example. Let's see other parents who seem to have everything together. They're volunteering at school, cooking homemade meals, and keeping up with their careers. It's easy to feel like you're not doing enough. But their best might be very different from yours, and that's okay. Maybe your best is getting dinner on the table, even if it's takeout, and spending quality time with your kids. Recognize that doing your best is about what works for you, not about keeping up with anybody else. Step 4, focusing on effort over outcome. This agreement encourages us to focus on effort, not outcome. We don't always have control over how things turn out, but we can control how we show up and try. Whether it's in work, relationships, or personal growth, doing your best is about putting in the effort without attaching your self-worth to the results. Here's a practical example. Perhaps you've been working on a personal project or goal, but things aren't going as planned. Maybe the results aren't what you hoped for, or it's taking longer than expected. Instead of feeling frustrated by the outcome, focus on the effort you're putting in. Ask yourself, am I showing up? Am I giving this my best today? When you shift your focus from the end result to the process, you allow yourself to appreciate the journey and feel proud of the effort, no matter the outcome. Step 5 of this, practicing self-compassion. Finally, doing your best also means practicing self-compassion. When things don't go as planned, you won't always meet your own expectations, and there will be times when you feel like you've fallen short. In these moments, it's important to be kind to yourself. Recognize that even on the hard days, you're doing your best with what you have. Another parenting example. If you've had a tough day with your kids and feel like you didn't handle a situation the way you wanted to, remember that you're human. Instead of being hard on yourself, reflect on what you can learn from the situation and how you might approach it differently next time. But also remind yourself that you did your best in that moment, given your energy, emotions, and circumstances. Self-compassion allows you to keep moving forward with a sense of grace and understanding. Here's some closing thoughts on always doing your best. The beauty of always doing your best is that it allows you to be present with where you are right now. It releases you from the burden of perfection and comparison and encourages you to show up even on the hard days. When you do your best, whatever that looks like, you can end each day knowing that you gave it your all, without guilt, without regret. This mindset fosters both personal growth and emotional wellness, helping you live with more peace and acceptance. As we come to the end of today's discussion, I want you to reflect on the power of the 4 agreements and how each of them can positively influence your life, whether you're applying them in your relationships, your personal growth, or your overall wellness. We started with be impeccable with your word, which is not just about speaking kindly and truthfully to others, but also about honoring the promises you make to yourself. Every time you follow through on your personal commitments, you build self-trust and integrity, laying the foundation for emotional and mental wellness. And remember, your words hold incredible power. The more we speak to ourselves with kindness and encouragement, the more we create an environment where self-compassion and growth can thrive. Then we moved into don't take anything personally, which invites you to free yourself from the burden of internalizing others' emotions and actions. This agreement teaches us to see that people's behavior is often a reflection of their own struggles, and by not absorbing it as a personal attack, we can protect our emotional energy and maintain our peace. It's about releasing the need for external validation and focusing on your own intentions. Next, don't make assumptions. Reminds us of the misunderstandings and stress that arise when we jump to conclusions without asking for clarity. Whether in parenting, work, or our personal lives, assumptions often lead us down a path of unnecessary frustration. Shifting from assuming to asking questions and making sure that we fully understand, we foster healthier communication and avoid many of the emotional pitfalls that assumptions create. Finally, we touched on always do your best, an agreement that encourages us to embrace progress over perfection. Your best change from day to day, and that's okay. This agreement is about giving your best effort in each moment, whatever that may look like, and being gentle with yourself when things don't go as planned. This practice of self-compassion opens up space for grace, resilience, and emotional balance. Each of these agreements offers practical tools for cultivating a more peaceful, balanced life. When applied together, they become a powerful framework for wellness, helping you let go of stress, strengthen your emotional resilience, and build healthier relationships with yourself and others. One aspect we didn't dive as deeply into is the idea of using the 4 agreements to create more intentional, positive energy in your daily life. When you combine all 4 principles, they work together to create a foundation of integrity, understanding, and emotional freedom. Whether it's through mindful connection, releasing unnecessary emotional burdens, or letting go of assumptions, these agreements give you the tools to be more present, more compassionate, and more in tune with your own needs. We also briefly touched on the importance of compassion, both for yourself and others, but it's worth emphasizing again. Compassion is at the heart of each of these agreements. Being impeccable with your word means speaking kindly to yourself and those around you. Not taking things personally and avoiding assumptions help you approach others with empathy and understanding, rather than reacting out of hurt or frustration. And always doing your best is an act of self-compassion, allowing you to show up with grace, no matter where you are on your journey. The last key point in these agreements are a practice, a lifelong journey of learning, and growing. Some days you'll find it easy to live by these principles, and other days it may feel like a struggle. The important thing is to keep coming back to them, knowing that each time you do, you're strengthening your sense of peace, integrity, and wellness. Now that we've we've explored all the agreements and you've shared it with people, let's move into some reflective coaching questions that'll help you take these ideas even deeper and apply them to your life. Here are 10 coaching questions that align with the 4 agreements and can help guide deeper reflection, both in parenting and personal growth. These questions encourage self-awareness, curiosity, and actionable steps for integrating the agreements into daily life. 4. Be impeccable with your word. How can you become more mindful of the words you use when speaking to yourself? What promises have you made to yourself that you haven't kept, and how can you recommit to them? Where can you set clearer boundaries in your relationships to honor your truth and well-being? 4. Don't take anything personally. Think of a recent situation where you took someone's behavior personally. How might that situation have looked if you hadn't internalized it? How can you create more emotional boundaries when your child or someone else is upset or frustrated? What might happen if you focused on your own intentions rather than seeking validation from others? 4. Don't make assumptions. Where in your life do you tend to make assumptions about what others are thinking or feeling? How can you seek clarity instead? How might open communication with your children or partner prevent misunderstandings that arise from assumptions? What assumptions have you made about yourself that might be holding you back? How can you challenge those assumptions? What does your best look like on a day when you're feeling energized versus a day when you're feeling tired or overwhelmed? How can you embrace both as valid? As we wrap up today's episode 86, the 4 agreements in action, wellness tools for growth, let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've taken through the 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. These powerful principles are simple yet transformative when we apply them to our daily lives, whether in our relationships, our personal growth, or in how we approach parenting. Remember, it's not about perfection, but progress. Each of these agreements invites us to be more mindful, more compassionate with ourselves and others, and more intentional in how we show up. If any of these topics resonated with you, and you'd like to explore how they can apply to your unique situation, I love to support you through a coaching consult. Feel free to reach out to me and we can dive deeper into how you can integrate these agreements into your life. Thanks for joining me on this episode, and I look forward to continuing this journey toward wellness and personal growth together. And remember, you are enough just as you are in every moment of this journey. Remember to take time to heal, relax, and be present. Next week, we will be talking about managing your money with Priska Benson. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. I am your host, Autumn Carter, a certified life coach dedicated to empowering individuals to rediscover their identity, find balance amidst chaos, strengthen relationships, and pursue their dreams. My goal is to help people thrive in every aspect of their lives. I hope today's discussion inspired you and offered valuable insights. You can work one-on-one with me or on demand through one of my programs by visiting wellnessinEverySeason.com. Stay engaged in our wellness community by signing up for my newsletter at com/free-resources. When you join, you'll have the option to receive a 5-day guide called Awaken and Unwind, 5 days to mastering your mornings and evenings, along with free guides, special offers on my programs, practical tips, personal stories, and much more. So sign up and share it with others. I put a lot into it, and that's where you will find me showing up the most. Don't miss these valuable resources designed to help you thrive in every area of wellness in every season of life. Join today and start your journey to wellness in every season. Your shares, subscriptions, and reviews for this podcast help us reach more people seeking empowerment. So please spread the word about our podcast. Thank you for being a part of our podcast community, and I look forward to continuing our conversation, sharing stories, and exploring wellness in all its aspects. One last thing to cover the show legally. I am a certified life coach and a certified parenting coach, giving general advice. I have a bachelor's in applied health, so I use that for the wellness aspect. So think of this more like a self-help book. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. I am not a licensed therapist, so this podcast shouldn't be taken as a replacement for professional guidance from a doctor or therapist. Because I don't know you personally, I'm not offering you personal advice. This is very general. If you want personal one-on-one coaching, go to my website, wellnessinEverySeason.com. That's where you can get personalized coaching from me for you. I will see you in next week's episode. Bye. One last thing to cover this show legally. I am a certified life coach giving general advice. So think of this more like a self-help book. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed therapist, so this podcast shouldn't be taken as a replacement for professional guidance from a doctor, therapist, or any other qualified expert. If you want personal one-on-one coaching from a certified coach, go to my website at wellnessinEverySeason.com. That's where you can get personalized coaching from me. See you in next week's episode.